Hi everyone, welcome to Chat with Nat, a talk show where we interview Sacred Heart University students and faculty in our own Martiri studios. Today I have with me Cristina Zangaglia. She is currently an education major, she is a dancer, and she's also a cancer survivor. So Cristina, welcome.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. So I have to ask, obviously, you obviously were diagnosed back in high school. What was life like before the diagnosis?
So I had always been a dancer my whole life. In high school, we had something called dance company, and since freshman year, I had always dreamed of being the president of the dance company. So my junior year, I was lucky enough to be vice president, hoping that the following year I would be able to be president. And junior year was really my test to see if I could do it the next year. So I had a lot on my plate. I was choreographing a lot of dances. I was in charge of a lot of the dancers and putting on the entire show. So my life was basically consumed with dance. And on top of that, just kind of seeing and figuring out where I wanted to go to school. I didn't find Sacred Heart till my senior year.
Wow.
So junior year consisted a lot of searching for schools while I was involved with dance.
So what was like that choreographing dances, even just as a high school student? I've never heard of somebody doing that. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, in addition to my dance company at school, I also got involved at a studio locally in my town. I had always worked at a theater camp, but I was never really involved with theater. So I figured, okay, that's during the summer, so let me find a job during the year. So I also had great experience working at the dance studio, which gave me a lot more confidence when I was working with my own peers, because it's a lot harder to work with your peers, I think, than to work with like little 3- and 4-year-old ballerinas.
Right.
So that was really great because it gave me like that boost of confidence and that security that I knew actually what I was doing. So once my peers saw that, it was much easier for them to kind of listen to me and be like, okay, she knows what she's doing, so we should definitely follow what she's saying. So that was kind of how I transitioned into these positions of the dance company in high school.
That's awesome. So, you know, you're obviously, I think, probably just a natural born leader. I can just tell from just your experience and even just knowing you here at Sacred Heart. What was it like when you were back in high school and you were, I guess, starting to figure out, you know, maybe something's not right? Like, I think something maybe a little bit off with what's going on with my health.
Yeah, so my diagnosis, like, involves a lot of personal things that I definitely won't dive into once you find out what my diagnosis was.
Of course, yeah.
But yeah, I was always kind of a hypochondriac, I guess. So I was always really in tune with my body. Also, as a dancer, you're in tune with like every motion that you're making. So I was always in tune with my body, and I just wasn't feeling well. I always just was feeling like very nauseous and like not right, and it didn't really affect my ability to dance and, you know, work out and move back and forth. I was, you know, definitely overexerting my ability, but it wasn't until January, which was basically, we call it Hell Week, which is like the 2 weeks before the actual show. And it was right during Hell Week, and I couldn't even like get up out of bed. I couldn't even stand upright. And I walked into my school in the morning wearing like baggy clothes. I couldn't even like put on clothes. I was just so uncomfortable, and my peers, my friends, even my principal, like all made me go to the nurse's office and begged me not to go to dance company rehearsal because they knew something was wrong and I knew something was wrong as well. So that's kind of when it was time to go see a doctor and figure out what was wrong.
So what was that like? Was that scary for you?
Yeah, that was definitely scary. I never thought that I was so unhealthy to the fact that I had a tumor growing inside of me. My mom worked in the hospital, thankfully. I'm from New York, so she worked at Phelps Memorial Hospital, and it's local in Westchester where we live, and she worked there. So she was like, let me call the department and get you in. And it was like an emergency, you know, we got in there, 1, 2, 3, and like within a second of the exam, he was like, we need to send you for an MRI and CAT scan. And my mom and I were like, what? Like naturally just in shock. And he found that I had a tumor growing on my right ovary that was the size of a baby's head. So like really, depending on the size of a baby's head, you can imagine.
Yeah.
It was easier to describe as a grapefruit. That's how he wrote it down. So,
oh my God.
Yeah, it was massive. And he said that I would need like emergency surgery within the next week or so. And the first thing that I said was, well, I have a show coming up. Can I dance? And
just being so dedicated.
I was like, I can't even think about that. I need to dance
Yeah,
in the show. And he was
absolutely.
like, well, what kind of dance? And I was involved in like the break dance routine and the hip hop routine. So he was like, you have to cut yourself from like half of your dances. And that was traumatizing for me, was
Right.
the dance aspect more so than the whole you need surgery aspect. So my mom was more so worried about like my health, whereas I was more so worried about the dance show.
Right.
So it was just kind of like mixed emotions all in one.
Oh my gosh. I could never imagine going through something like that.
Yeah,
Like,
I was like, we celebrated my 17th birthday 2 days after I got my diagnosis. So I was
Oh.
16 turning 17 when I
oh my
found out.
gosh.
Yeah, yeah.
That must
it
have been a
was-
very interesting birthday.
It was
to say
very,
the least.
very, very hard.
Yeah.
Everyone in my company, we had like 100-something members. Everyone tried their best to keep my spirits up and celebrate
Right.
my birthday and keep me distracted. So it was really great. They all mean a lot to me. So that is really what pushed me and helped me get through.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We'll be right back.
We are your future leaders.
We are united.
We are hockey players.
We are dancers.
We are athletes.
We are Catholic.
We are creators.
We are making a difference.
We are making the world a better place.
We are sisters.
We are brothers.
We are here to serve.
We are here to serve.
We are compassionate.
We are turning dreams into reality.
We are pioneers.
We are.
We are.
We are you!
Welcome back to Chat with Nat. So Cristina, you said before, your peers were just so helpful and so amazing to you just to lift your spirits up. Coming to Sacred Heart, or even just senior year of high school, can you tell me what that was like?
Yeah, well, so after my diagnosis, I was out of school for 6 weeks.
Oh, wow.
I was like tutored at home from my teachers, and my friends would come over and visit me every day. So they really helped me get through the rest of junior year. And then looking for schools was definitely hard. I wanted to stay close to home because I had to get checked like every 3 months, screened every 3 months. So I wanted to stay close to home. And I thought I wanted to dance, but then I realized that I didn't want to pursue that. So Manhattan wasn't like in the options anymore. I looked at upstate New York, and I couldn't like be surrounded by cows. So I learned that Connecticut was not that far, and I found Sacred Heart, and I got a tour, and I just fell in love with every aspect of the school, and I applied early decision, so I knew where I was going December of senior year. So the rest of the year was like definitely a breeze compared to junior year.
Yeah,
for sure.
Absolutely. Now I know we've spoke about it before, but the Make-A-Wish Foundation, who was the person who kind of reached out and said, this is a organization that can grant wishes for kids?
Yeah, well, my mom definitely, I think, took the greatest toll with the whole incident.
Right.
I had a lot of distractions. I was still in high school. I had a lot on my plate. I became president of the dance company. So senior year, I had more on my plate. So I was really distracted with life, but she was more so torn up about, I'm an only child, so like her only child got sick, so she was devastated. So
absolutely.
She, being that she worked at the hospital and she knew my doctors on a personal level, she found out that she could apply, she could nominate me, I guess, for Make-A-Wish. Make-A-Wish was like down the road from the hospital, the headquarters for the Hudson Valley chapter, and she sent in like all of my information, and then senior year of high school towards the end, she got the call from one of the advisors over there at the chapter, and they said that I was able to have a wish. So that was cool. It was my mom who kind of worked and finagled her way to find information and get me that wish. So yeah.
Did you kind of have any idea what you wanted to wish for? Was this something you even like thought?
I was like, I didn't even want it, because I was like, I don't want to take a wish from someone else. And then when my wish granters came over, they were explaining to me that, they get so many cases and they grant so many wishes that I don't have to turn one away. Like someone else will still get one.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so it was really cool to understand the whole Make-A-Wish process. I wasn't that familiar with it before I was involved, and yeah, basically I didn't know what I wanted to wish for. They wanted me to go big or go home. So
there you go.
They were like, what is your dream? Like, what's your passion? And I was like, well, obviously dance is
Yeah.
my passion, as you all know now. And so I was like, I want to dance with Julianne Hough. And they were like, okay. So
Just like that.
Yeah, just like that. It took a long time, as you can see. Julianne, yeah, she's awesome. But it took a really long time to like process that, reaching out to her managers, and like you can only imagine like how crazy that gets. So I didn't get my wish granted until freshman year of college.
Wow.
So it took basically, half a year, maybe a little more than that, to get it actually granted.
Oh my gosh. And how was that experience? Like, I mean, I could tell in your picture you're just so happy, but like,
She's
what
cool.
was that like?
So I got to take my mom on my trip with me, which was fun, and it became so much more than I ever imagined. Julianne was guest starring as a judge for Dancing with the Stars.
Nice.
So her managers, her crew, everyone was like, let's just fly Cristina out here to California, and then she can get the whole Dancing with the Stars experience on top of meeting Julianne, on top of being in California, a place I've never been before.
Everything, yeah.
Yeah, so it was like 4 days in LA. We had all-inclusive package to Universal Studios, and then we got to go to the set of Dancing with the Stars, and then we met Julianne, and it was crazy. It was crazy.
Yeah, that sounds awesome though. Like I could just imagine like it finally, your wish coming true, and just being able to meet her and everything.
It was a great way to just learn what the foundation was all about, learn what they did, how they made things so extraordinary, and just like work with famous people, and to have that opportunity to go with my mom was just really awesome too.
That's great. Now you said this all happened freshman year. You were also going through sorority recruitment, which I know you're in Chi Omega, and their philanthropy is Make-A-Wish. Like how did all of that kind of come together your freshman year?
Yeah, so I never thought I'd be a sorority girl like ever in my life. I didn't even know what that word really meant. So then coming to SHU, I saw on like the pamphlets that their philanthropy was Make-A-Wish, and I was like, well, if there's any sorority I'm joining, it's the one that supports Make-A-Wish. So
of course.
I met the girls, and I was so nervous that like I wasn't going to fit in, or it wasn't going to be my match, because recruitment's like really scary as is.
Right.
And I went in, and I was just like attacked with love and amazing women, and I was blown away by everyone who was in the room. So it was just the perfect fit and the perfect transition to joining something like that completely impacted my life, Make-A-Wish being one of them, and then Chi being the other.
Right. It's funny you say that, because I don't know if you know, but when I was born, I had open heart surgery. So I know. So we learn something new every day. But my parents, obviously, when they started out, they didn't have a ton of money, and the hospital where I was having my surgery actually was right by Ronald McDonald House.
Oh,
so
look at that.
my parents stayed at the Ronald McDonald House while I was in the hospital for like Lord knows how many weeks.
Right.
And so like like you said, like when I was going through Alpha Delta Pi, I'm like, oh, well, this is like, something that's very near and dear to me. And it was the same thing. I was just so intimidated, but they were like, oh my gosh, you stayed there, like that's amazing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like what's going on? Like I never thought I would, kind of have the same experience, but it was definitely.
Just to have that connection to your philanthropy means so much more when you're in a sorority.
Oh, absolutely. I definitely think that, you were definitely drawn to Chi Omega, and I was somehow drawn to 80 Pi. So how have you used like your wish in any way for at least Sacred Heart, or do you like speak a lot for Chi Omega?
Yeah, so freshman year, I actually interned at the Hudson Valley chapter for Make-A-Wish. I'm an English major here, so I have a lot of writing background, and I actually wrote an article for their annual newsletter. So it was my first piece that's ever been published in their newsletter. I got to interview social workers at a hospital that actually has Ronald McDonald next to it as well. So, and it was great. So that was definitely a great way to transition into learning more about Make-A-Wish and learning more about the behind the scenes, because I was like in the scenes, so the behind the scenes, and then coming into Chi and having philanthropy rounds during recruitment, and just knowing that there's a Connecticut chapter. I did a lot to kind of morph like the knowledge of Make-A-Wish with how we could enhance that with our philanthropy and advocating it here on campus. We have something called the Wish Ball now, which is something we started last year. One of my sisters was like all gung-ho about getting that to happen, because it's an actual thing that Make-A-Wish chapters do. So we made a smaller version here and brought that to Sacred Heart.
That's awesome. So do you ever get to see a child's wish get granted?
We did get to see someone who got their wish granted. We didn't directly grant their wish. All of the money that we raise goes to the chapter, and then they do whatever they want to divide the money for each wish.
Okay.
But we did have a wish recipient come, and I spoke at that event. And we actually have 2 other girls in our sorority that are wish recipients also.
Really?
Yeah, so there's 3 of us in total.
Oh my
right
gosh.
now.
So do you did you get to connect and tell stories with one another, or?
Yeah, when they're both juniors right now. I'm a senior, so they've always been a year younger than me.
Okay.
When they went through recruitment, everyone was like, "You have to meet Cristina," and when I met them, it was just that instant connection, and we have really bonded ever since we met.
That's awesome. Do you do, I guess, any other work for Make-A-Wish, or like how's that been now that it's been a couple years past since your diagnosis? Like, do you ever look back and think to that moment, like, oh my gosh, like I overcame this?
Yeah. I mean, one of the faculty, his name, I'm not even going to say his name, but I won't get that personal. But
okay.
He is
No
so
problem.
wonderful, and I did not even know that he was a wish child himself.
Oh my gosh.
And he was part.
At you?
Not here.
Oh, okay.
At my Hudson Valley chapter.
Okay.
Yeah, he was a wish child himself, and I had no idea. So to see someone who now works at the foundation, who runs everything, who makes other people feel so accomplished and welcomed and everything, it was just so refreshing to be like, oh, maybe I could be a wish granter one day, or oh, maybe I could work for Make-A-Wish one day. I'm not there yet. I'm still in school and stuff, but if the smallest thing I can do to make a difference is, create events on campus or spread awareness or donate to Make-A-Wish anywhere I go, those are the baby steps to maybe one day doing something more.
Absolutely. That's awesome. Well, Cristina, we'll be right back with just one other question after this short break.
Pass the Dutch, baby. Shake, shake, shake your stuff, Pop that, jiggle that fat. Don't stop, get it till your clothes get wet. Number 1, drums go bump, bump, bump. This beat here will make your home bump jump. If you's a fat one, put your clothes back on before you start putting potholes in my lawn. Oh my gosh, I'm under attack.
Welcome back. We just have one last question for Cristina in regards to graduation and just, I guess, your future plans. You said you wanted to be someday a wish granter. Is that like a long-term goal, a short-term goal, or like just
definitely
dream?
Long-term. I'm going to start grad school in May.
Okay.
I'm in a 5-year education program here,
Nice.
so definitely just want to try accomplishing that one dream of becoming a teacher and making sure I get placed one day in a good school and just get settled. And then once that happens, I'd love to jump back in with Make-A-Wish, and maybe during the summer. It's a great perk of having summers off. I'd love to try and grant wishes during the summer. I just always want to stay connected to the foundation because they've done so much for me, but they do so much for so many other people.
That's awesome. Do you do you have any advice or just any tips for people that want to maybe go into like joining the Make-A-Wish Foundation, or if there's somebody out there right now who's went through what you went through high school, like is there anything you want to say regarding that?
Everyone should become part of the Make-A-Wish Foundation somehow, whether that's donating. I know Macy's, like around every Christmas, they'll donate to Make-A-Wish. I think that they're an incredible foundation, and where all of your donations are going. They're going towards granting that child's wish, whatever that may be. Also, if you're a frequent flyer, you could donate your miles to Make-A-Wish.
Okay.
That's another great thing I love telling people. And yeah, just kind of, seeing whatever you can do to become a part of the foundation. It's just, raising awareness, raising money to make sure that these kids have an experience of a lifetime when they're dealing with something that's so hard.
Absolutely. Well, I just want to thank you so much for coming on our show.
Thanks
and just
for having me.
Talking about your experience. Like that was fantastic. I hope you were able someday to grant wishes just like how your wish was granted.
Yeah.
Stay tuned next time to chat with Nat. Thanks for watching.